Hey guys, welcome back to the Astrodevs channel. Today's video is going to be about how to create an idle game, also known as a clicker game, with Flutter. As you can see, as for the app or the game you might call, I have chosen a coin mining game, which you have a 3D model of your coin over here. I have created this one with Leonardo AI. You can choose any other image generating AI, or you might also do it yourself. And with each click, you can see that we gain one coin, and as it indicates over here. So then the coin name is AstroCoins. You can give it any names you want, and the background is a simple picture. And this one over here, the coin also is a simple PNG. We didn't use any 3D shape over here. So as you can see, there's no animation, there's no shape changes. This is just a plain PNG, which you can also find in our GitHub codes. I would make sure to put that in the description down below. And also we have a battery, which the moment that you start clicking, the battery starts to go down. And the moment that it's not at its full capacity, it starts recharging itself. You can change the recharging rate, and you can also change how much you want the battery to go down per each click. And another thing that this app also supports is, and the moment that you go out of the app, you might close it or you might just stop it, the coins are saved and also your battery is charging while you're not here. You can see how we're gonna do it. We are going to use no service backgrounds over here. I just have a simple solution for that, which we're going to calculate how much the battery should go up when the user goes out of the app and when he comes back again. And so let's go and see how we can create this app. Hold up, before we jump back into the video, we've got something exciting to share with you. Join our community and be part of something amazing. Choose your role, programmer, designer, or whatever sparks your interests. Share your work, get feedback, and collaborate with fellow members. Plus, get ready to join our upcoming project. But first, hop over to our Discord server for all the action. Subscribe now and join the Discord for updates. Alright, so after you create your Flutter application, there is some changes you need to do. First, create a folder for your assets. You can see that we have our 3D model coin and the background over here. Alright, now that you have added the assets folder, there are some modifications needed to be done in popspec.yml. First, go and add your assets folder over here so the Flutter app knows that it exists and it can read the files within it. As you can see, there is no other folder inside the assets, so we just had to add it like this and the Flutter app can read its data. Then you need to add these two packages so the app would run as how you want. First is shared preferences. Shared preferences is a package used to have a local database on the user's device. So if there's any data that you want to save on the user's device and locally, you can use shared preferences. Also, there are other packages for a local database, which we can talk about it in a video if you want so. So don't forget to comment down below if you want to see that video. And next is Google Fonts. We can use the Google Fonts to change the font of our application without the need of actually downloading the code. So if you're facing problems with adding the fonts to your Flutter applications and somehow they might not function as expected, you can actually use this package so there are less problems when adding a new font to your application. Now we can go and create our UI. So in the main.dart and on the main function, we can see that I have added some codes. First, before anything, we just ensure that the Flutter is binded and everything else is initialized. So we can start and write in some UI codes. And these two codes make sure that our application is full screen. If you want no overlays, for example, if you don't want the status bar or if you don't want the navigation bar, you can clear out the overlays list, so that can be empty so you see no overlays on your device, but I might prefer to have the status bar up here. You can see that in our material app, I have given my app a name, which is AstroCoin. Also, I have removed that debug banner over here by writing this code. And then I have changed my app theme data. I have modified the scaffold background color to be black, and that's just because of the whole theme is in dark mode. I just considered to set the scaffold background color to be black if there's any part that our BG, that our background actually is not covering. But we can make sure that it is always covering it, but just to make sure that it works as expected. Next, we have changed the font family. As you can see, I am using Google Fonts package and the font name is Oswald. And in order to use its font family, if I remove this, it's just the font itself. So if I want to use it as a font family, you need to call this over here. And the color scheme is the default color scheme. I have not changed it. This one goes for your buttons. As you can see, we have no buttons over here or no text input form or something like that. So you can just leave it like that, or you can even remove it. And this is something new in Flutter, which says that use material 3. You can set it to be true. Why not? There's no need to change that. And as for our UI, I just set it to be home clicker UI. Let's go and create that file as well. Don't forget the dot. First off, I always add my material package over here so I can go and create my stateful widget. Give it a name. The name was home clicker UI. And now I can import this. So the error is gone and I can restart my application. So right now there's nothing in here, so we just see an empty screen. Let's add our scaffold. And within that scaffold, first add the body to it. And as for the child of the body, you can use a container and use the decoration, box decoration, and as its image, decoration image. Let me sort this code so you can see it better. Then again, you call the image, and because the image is on our asset folder, we can use asset image. And within that, you can just write the path for your image, which is background.jpg or jpg, background.jpg. And we can see that the background is over here and the app is full screen as well. But something that is missing is the picture is not covering our whole screen. So first thing I do is to set the fit to be a box fit and not contain. You can call it cover. And now you can see that it is covering the whole screen or the whole scaffold, you might say. All right. And this is our main container, and everything else is going to be on the top of this picture. So I'm going to add a child, and the child is going to be a column. And that column is going to have a main axis alignment as main axis alignment center. And as it's for children, now let's go and add our text widgets. So the first text widget is just going to say AstroCoins. I was about to write Astrodevs. All right, and the style, we can actually give it a style like this. Let me sort this code first and have an enter right here. So we can actually go inside of our theme.of context, and inside the theme we have some text themes. It should not be const, so we can use this. So text theme, you say, and then inside it you can see that we have a lot of text size over here. I'm going to go with display large for this one, and we can modify it. First, make sure that it's not null, then go with copy width and change its color, so the color is white because our app background is dark, so we can have it as white. And now we can see that we have a problem. The column is only the size of the text, so if I increase this, you can see that it is increasing. But I want my column, or to write the container and the scaffold, to have the exact width and height of the device. So how can I do it? I can get those first. So we can say final width. This is a final because it is going to never change. It cannot be a const because at first it's not a constant. So at first it has no value. It can be anything when the app is run, but it can be a final because it is going to never change. So we're gonna never change it by accident. If I'm going to change it, for example, if I'm going to set that the width is equal to 1, I cannot do it because it's a final variable. So we make sure that it's always the same thing as it was before. So this is how we can get the width and the height of the screen. And now I hot rolled it, but I've not set it yet. So I set the width and the height of the container to be the height and the width of the device. Now we can see that everything else is correct. So as for the second text widget, you can leave a space over here, or I'm not going to do it because I think that looks good. So for now, I'm going to create a variable and call it as click count. So this is going to be our main variable, the coin quantity, and I'm going to set it over here, click count. And as it's for style, I'm going to create a custom text style, which is text style. Font size is about to be 65, and the color is colors.white. And as you can see, this is 0 because we have mined no coins, and the font is changed because we have set the font to be Oswald, or I don't know how else to pronounce it. Alright, so as for the placement of our coin, we might need a little bit of space between the coin and the text over here. So I'm going to use a size box in order to create that space between them. So that was a mistake. Size box and the height. Now, to be more consistent, I can use the height of the screen and, for example, say I want 0.02 of it. So maybe that's enough, or maybe that's a bit less. I can go with 0.1. So that's if you, for example, divide it by 10, the 1 maybe should be about this height. And that's how you can use the height and also the width of the device to kind of have a better responsive design for your application. And next one, I'm going to use an inkwell, and I'm going to say I'm using an inkwell. But now let's give it a child, and that child is going to be an image asset. That's how you can bring in an image from your assets folder. And again, just give it the pass, and the pass is AstroCoin. Also, if you want to know which AI this is that is suggested in the code, the AI name is Codium, which you can also find other extensions over here on this video up top. So now we can see that the coin over here is looking good, but it's a bit big. So let's just do what we did over here. So I'm going to use the height of the screen, and maybe 0.03 is enough for the coin. You can even make it bigger, maybe 0.035. Yep, that's more like it. And that's it. So let's go and create the click effect. So untap, and as for the untap method, we are going to create a method ourselves over here. We're going to call it as void increment click count, and this is going to be our untap function. So you can just write the name, increment click count, and that's it. Now this coin is clickable. So first of all, we're going to start our shared preferences. You might call it as prefs, and it is equal to, you should actually await it over here. So this needs to be an async function, because the moment that you want to have an asynchronous function inside your code, you have to write the async, so the Flutter knows that this is an asynchronous function. All right, so we use the await, and we use the shared preferences dot get instance, and this kind of initializes your shared preferences over here for your application. And we can use the set state to actually increase our click count, but this is set final, so I remove that. That has been set by a function that I have set on my VS Code, so it kind of fixes some minor errors on our code. So for example, if I have forgot to write the const over here, by saving our file, you can see that the const is written over here by itself. So that final was written by that fixing officer, you might call it. All right, so now our coin should add up, but it doesn't. So maybe restart the application because we are outside of the widget build, and now we can see that our coin is being added, but we are not saving it. For example, if I restart the application, we can see that it is set to 0. So after each click, we can just save it. So how to save things? You can say that the prefs.setInt, and you need a key. The key, for example, can be called as click count, and the value can be also our click count variable. So we can make sure that this is being saved by our shared preferences, but we are not reading it. So we have set the click count to be 0, but we need to check that if there is any data being saved by the user, or if there's any changes on this click count, so we have to write something else rather than 0. So how to do it? Right here we can have another method. We can call it as load click count, and which also going to be an asynchronous function. So first of all, we can restart our preferences like this, and then we can go and see if there is any click count, so we can set it to our click count. And the code seems nice. We check if there is any click count by getInt, because this is an int. We have used setInt to set the data, and we have to use the getInt in order to get the data. And after that, we check if this is empty, we set it to be 0, and if it's not empty, we get the first one. So this is how this function works. It checks if the data on the left side is correct, and if it's not null, and if there's no error going on with it. So if everything is okay, the value is this. But if there's any problem with it, and if this is null, it sets the value on the right side for this variable. And if I restart my application over here, and if I start, and right now, we need to call this method in order to work. So the best place to call it is in our init state. So let me remove that todo. You can go after the super and just call your load click count. So in order to see our applications, you need to restart it. And you can see that we have 7 coins over here. And if I start to increase it to 17, and if I restart my application, you can see that the 17 is also there. So that is the real simple functionality of our application, but we are going to develop it further away. First off, let's add that +1 animation, which starts from here. So how we can do it? First of all, we need to go and wrap our inkwell with a stack widget. The best way to wrap it with this stack widget is I first wrap it with this column, and then change the name actually to stack. So we have the children over here, and I can start writing my code. So the first child is the inkwell, but the second child is going to be a positioned.fill, and the child is actually going to be an animated builder. So the builder needs animation, which we're going to create right now. Just give it a name as the controller, or you can give it any other name. But for now, because we only have one controller for our animation, I'm just going to call it as controller. And then we need the builder. So inside the builder, we have a context and a child. First, let's go create our animation variables. As you saw, we need an animation controller, so let's create it as a late animation controller, colored as controller. Late means that it is going to be initialized later. So if I remove that, it says that it must be initialized. But if I use late, we kind of say that we're going to initialize it later in our application. And we need another thing called as animation offset, because that that +1 is not just staying over here. We are going to move it upwards. So we create an animation, and the value of it is going to be an offset, and you can call it as offset animation. Next is an animation double, and this one, the more further it gets, and the opacity is going to be changed as well. So give it a name as opacity animation, which the AI is already suggesting, and that's it. That's everything we need over here for now. And let's go and initialize our controller and our offset and the opacity animation. So controller is equal to animation controller, and the duration of it is going to be, for example, we can use a duration of seconds, 1 second. 1 second is enough, for it to just go up. We don't want it to be so fast, and we don't want it to be too slow. 1 second is perfect. And this is no silly comment. Put a sync, put a comma, and vsync over here is going to be this. This is the class, but it says that it cannot be set because it needs to extend the ticker provider state. So how we can do it is to just go up over here and say with ticker provider state mixin, and the error is gone, and we can use this class as for vsync. All right. Next one is our offset animation. So the offset animation is going to be initialized like this. You can use twin. So for example, you want to change the offset, you need to use it. You need to use the twin. You have set your animation, but in order to initialize it with a twin, and it's going to again be offset, of course. And inside that, you can have two things. First is the begin, which is the starter value. So the starter value is going to be const offset of the x and y. Both of them are going to be 0 because it is going to be at the center. And the end factor. So the end factor as well is an offset because we have set the twin and the animation to be offsets. So here the x-axis is going to be 0 as well because we are not going to move it on that axis, but we are going to move it upwards. So in order to move it upwards, we need to use minus. For example, minus 0.1 is enough. And then we can say animate. So animate, we are going to use a curved animation. So the first one, the parent, is going to be our animation controller, and the curve, which is the animation style, we can use curves.ease out, actually, not ease and out, because this is a one-time animation. It starts and ends, so we can just use ease out. So it's just a style of animation, and it's a curve style animation. All right, that's it for our offset animation. Let's go for the opacity. So the opacity is also set the same way. We use the twin to change its value, and the values are double. So make sure to note that. And the begin value, we are going to set the opacity to be 0.1. 0.01. That's the 100% of the opacity. And at the end, it's going to be a 0. So we want it to kind of fade away. That's a fading animation. And again, you can use the animate, curved animation. The parent is also the animation controller, and the curve can also be set at ease out. So the problem over here is we have a thing over there which by removing it, the error should be gone. And now let's go and develop this one over here. So but first, in order to don't face any errors, I'm going to create a dispose method. So in this state, you must write the codes after the super.init state, but in the dispose, you have to code before that super.dispose. So make sure to note that as well. So controller.dispose can make sure that the moment that this widget is not this widget is cleared out from a widget tree, the controller is not going to work, so it cannot cause any crashes. Now let's go back to our UI. Over here, we were creating the animated builder. So in here, we're going to return a fade transition, which as for the opacity, I'm going to set the opacity animation So you saw that the opacity animation changes its value from 1, and which you can also call it as 100%, to 0. And then we need a child for it. So the child is also going to be a slide transition. So for the slide transition, you can set a position, and that position is going to be our offset animation, which you saw we set it so it would go up. And by using the fade transition, which is wrapping our slide transition, you can make sure that it has the fade effect on it. And next, you can also set a child for your slide transition. Let me see why it is not going to get out. So, let's just write the codes and then I sort out my code over here. Or maybe I can just place a space. I just want you guys to see the codes more better. Alright, and now let's put a text widget at its center, and this is going to be my text widget, and the text widget is going to say +1 because that's how much you increase the coin by clicking on it. It's only 1. And next we can just give it a style. I'm just going to use the styles in our theme, which is again theme.of context, and then text themes. I'm going to use for example maybe headline large for this one, and also I'm going to check if it is not null, then copy it with our color, which is colors.white. So we can say that over here as well, and in here I just have to use a semicolon. So the error is saying that this is not initialized because I have to restart the application. So now the application is restarted. You can see that the moment that you start clicking, all right, it is not going up because we have not changed our increment click. All right, let's go and modify that one as well. You can see the +1 over here, but it's not going up. So let's go and fix that as well. So in here, we just have to call controller. You just have to trigger it, So controller dot forward, and from 0, of course. So right now, when you click on it, you can see that it starts going up and it fades away. That's great. All right. Now let's go and add that battery on the bottom of it. So for the battery, I'm going to create a separate widget, not in a separate file, but a separate widget, which is going to be below my stack widget. You can also divide it by a size box. So the size box is going to be at the height, and the height, that 0.1 was good. So I'm going to go with that again. And in here, I'm going to name it as build battery indicator. All right, let's go and create that widget as well. I just have to be outside this widget, so I can create it. Widget build battery. I have a typo over here. All right, just copy it over here, and let's get it started. First off, let's get the width of the device. So just we are sure that we have it, and then we're going to return a column. That column is going to have a row inside it, and that row is going to be an icon first, which is going to be icons.bolt. I'm going to use bolt for its indication. You can use maybe charge station or maybe this one, but I prefer the bolt. And as to give it a golden color, let me put the semicolon over here so we can, now we can modify it. And as it's for color, I'm going to set colors.yellow and with a darker shade. So for example, shade 800, and this one should not be constant, so remove it, and you can see that it's over here and the color is good. maybe we can increase its size. So maybe set the size to be width 0.01, maybe 0.04. That's so small. 0.08. Yeah, 0.08, 0.07, something like that. Yeah, that's good. That's good. And after that, I'm going to create a linear progress indicator, and I am going to set its value to be battery percentage, which we have not created yet. So let's go and create that. All right, so the battery percentage, I am going to set it as double, and it's going to be battery percentage, which is going to be 1.0, which is going to be 1. And this one indicates 100% full capacity. All right, I have set it double, so we can decrease it by just saying 0.005 or 3 or something like that. And that's how we're gonna count our battery percentage. Or maybe battery percentage, battery capacity or something like that, battery percentage, because we are not going to show a percentage over here, but just to give it a name and to be more understandable for you guys. Let's go back through here and set a min height for it. So min height may be minimum height of height. Oh, yeah, I have not get the height over here. So final height, and maybe we can use 0.02. All right, the error is here because we are using a row, but this one has no width to it. So in order to set a width for it, we can just wrap it with an expanded widget and restore our application, and you can see that it is over here. The width is a bit too large, so maybe 0.015, 0.02, 0.012. I'm sorry. All right, that's good. That's good. I've been using 10, so I go with 10. You can just change it so it has a responsive value to it, but I'm going to go with 10 because the look is good. And I'm going to change its color. So the value color is the color of the main color, you might say. So the value color, I'm going to set it to be first off, you can use always stop animation color because it is going to have an animation. Not yellow, maybe amber for it, because I want it to have a darker shade than yellow. Then we can set the background color. So the background color is the color behind it. So I'm going to go with color.amber again. Colors. Amber, maybe shade 100. And that's more better. So, but I want rounded corners as well. So let's just give it a border radius, and border radius that's circular. And it's going to be width 0.02. Yeah, that's good. And we set the column because we want a text widget below all of it. So maybe we can set a size box here. So size box, the height sized box. So the height can be set like 0.05. Yeah, that's good. Maybe we're going to see, and the text is going to say that the battery is, we can use the $sign and the brackets in order to write some codes over here. So these are just not the strings, these are codes we're going to write. And we're going to get the battery percentage, multiply it by 4000. If you want to have a percentage, you can multiply it by 100, but I'm going to multiply it by 400 to have another type of number, and to int, so we don't have that double value, we have an int value, and that's it. And it is over there, but it is not being seen. So let's just change the style, and again I'm going to just change its color. So text style is equal to color, colors dot white, and that's the distance is so high, so let's reduce it a bit. 0.01 is better. We can maybe change the font size over here. Font size to be 20. Yeah, 20. Yeah, 20 is good. Yeah, 20 is good. All right. And now let's go and create the factor that it is going to reduce our battery life the moment we start hitting the coin. So in order to do that, we need to do it in our click increment count. So after saving our coin, after or before, it doesn't really matter, we can reduce our battery percentage by the most logical thing I found was 0.003, and it is again set to final, so let's just remove the final. And right now if I start clicking the coin, you can see that the battery percentage is going down until it hits 0. But let's just, for the sake of showing, I set it to be 1. Alright, I restarted, and if I start, you can see that it starts going down, so we don't want it to go below 0. So to fix that, we are going to create a function over here. So we check that if the battery percentage is not already 0, then do this decrement, and if it is 0, we're going to see no changes, and it is not going to go below 0. So let's just see it in action. Restart the application, and when it hits 0, it should go no further. Yeah, kinda it doesn't go, but you can see that the coins are being increased, so you have to modify that as well. All right, now it goes below 0 and the coins are being added, so we check that also. So we can just scope out the if, and we can also maybe scope it out a bit more. So the set state is inside the if, and this code as well is inside the if, so everything stops right when we hit the 0. There's no coin increment and there's no battery reducement. But we hit the -8. So how to fix that? All right, now let me just decrease this a bit so we can hit 0 a bit faster. So now, just to make sure that it doesn't go anything below 0, we can just use it like this, and we check that it is above the amount. Maybe remove one of the zeros, and yeah, there are some other parts you can fix, but because the battery is going to start recharging the moment that it is reduced, this is not going to be a big problem for our project. All right, so let's hit it. Set it to 100% as well, and let's go and create our recharging timer and function. So as I said, it's going to be a timer, so we need two timer variables over here. First is our late timer, battery timer. So this is just going to be used for our battery recharging, and you just have to add the dot.async. Let's go down here. We need to create a function which is called start battery recharge timer. and there's no need for it to be asynchronous. So in here we can set a recharge interval, and this is going to be a duration and 1 second, and the battery timer, we need to now initialize our battery timer. So this is going to be a timer dot periodic. So that actually restarts the function we're going to write inside this timer by this duration. So each second it is going to call the callback function over here. So it just needs a timer, and we just don't have to set it like that. We can just say recharge interval. Yep, that's our duration for our timer.periodic. And inside we are going to start the battery recharging. So let's just check that the battery percentage should be below the 100%. So if it is the time that it is below 100%, we're going to start our battery charging. So we first check if it is anything below 0.1.0, then we can have a is recharging or recharging boolean. So I'm going to show you when we need it. So let's just create it, recharging, and it is going to be false. And let's just go down, and first let's set the recharging to be true, and then we can start the battery percentage increment. But the rate over here is so high, you can go with this. You can try to set it anything you want. This is just the rate that the battery percentage is being increased. So you can just change it. This is the recharge rate. And then let's check that battery does not go any further than 1.0. So to do that, we can just check again. So the battery percentage, if is over 1.0, over or equal, we can say over or equal, bigger than or equal to 1.0, the recharging is set to false, and the battery should be just left out 100%. And that's the logic for our start battery recharge timer function. And in order to call it, we can just go up here and we check by an if, that if it is not recharging already, then just call the function. And if it is recharging, we don't have to call this, because it is going to start another timer, which is going to ruin the application functionalities. And if I restart it, I don't think that there is anything needed to be done. So the moment I start decreasing it, we can see that it is being increased by the timer function we had over there, and it goes no further than 4,000. So everything else is done. Maybe we can just decrease the size over here for a bit. Padding is going to be set to width. I'm sorry, symmetric, horizontal. Maybe the value can be with 2. Yeah, that's more like it. We can have a less longer battery rate. So there's another thing over here. For example, let's say that the user they go below, for example, 1,900 or something. Now let's say that they close the app. So right now, let me close the app. So right now, they expect that their battery is going to recharge. So when they open the app, they see no changes over here. So what we can do is, first, to set up a service background for the application. And so when the user the user has closed the app, the application is already running in the background using the background services, and it is recharging, and the timer is already working in the background even if the app is closed. But that might have some downfalls to it. There's a long setup for it. We might do it in another video, in a separate video actually. But another logic that you can use is to first get the time that the user has left the app, then get the time that the user has entered the app, and see the distance of time-wise distance of the time that the user has left and the time that the user has opened, for example, and get the second, get it in seconds. For example, it has been 3000 seconds that the user has left the app, and then you see that by each by each second we increase the battery percentage by this much. So you can just use that amount of seconds. For example, it was 3000, right? 3000 seconds, multiply it by the rate that you have for your battery percentage increment, and then set it as your battery charge. That's the simplest logic that you can use. But also let me know in the comments if there are any other function or maybe any other way that you can do the recharge even if the user has closed the app. And also let me thank you that you have watched until the end of the video, because the video has gone so long. I didn't expect it to be that long. I'm not going to show you the functions of how we can calculate that amount of battery recharge when the app is closed. I'm not going to show you in here, but they are going to be included in the GitHub file I'm going to leave in the description down below. So don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell if you liked the video. Also let me know in the comments if there are any other things you want to be added to this app. We can also add a robot which clicks the coins for us. We can use some other boosts to our application. So for example, you use the coins inside the app to have a bigger click increment rate. For example, instead of 1, you can increase your coins by 2 or by 3, the amount that you buy them. And you can also have a function to increase your battery full capacity. You can use the coins inside the application to buy that boost. And another thing I want you to tell us is that if we should create a separate playlist for these AstroCoins, and we should continue on it and create a series. Let me know any ideas that you have for this app, anything you want to be added, and also let us know if there are any other videos or tutorials you want to see for Flutter or other parts. Thanks for watching and happy coding.